Gather around, everyone. It's story time. I think the jazz hands sell it. I do. About police brutality and overreach. No? Okay, so they have limitations. This is a story about my friend Molly. And this is more than just a story, of course. It seems to be kind of a warning. Molly is a friend of mine from Chicago. She is the most walk-the-walkingest person I have ever known. You know, she and her wife lived on the west side of Chicago. They versed themselves in how to administer Narcan, and they did. Plus, of course, a brilliant actor working with LGBTQIA communities, kids, adults, helping to facilitate workshops to teach nonprofits how to be anti-racist. Walk the walk. You see what I'm saying? But even if she weren't, that wouldn't matter, because what happened to her shouldn't happen to anybody. So Molly took her activist artist ass to New Hampshire to be closer to her activist artist parents' asses. But did that slow her down? No, of course not. She showed up at rallies. She went to a Senate judiciary hearing to protect trans kids. She even made an enemy of the local transphobe celebrity, Steve, you're an asshole. Now, of course, in all of this, Molly has to have a job, right? So she works as a janitor at the local elementary school on third shift, meaning as soon as school lets out, she comes in and she and another person begin to clean the school until about 11 o'clock at night. Now, one day there's Molly doing her job and she rounds the corner and there are some police officers with enormous guns pointed right at Molly's chest. She screamed, which is the appropriate response here, and fell to her knees because she was kind of fainting. And they assured her that she's not in trouble. They're just in the school doing some training exercises in an elementary school with guns in the middle of the night.
What are you doing?
When she asked how they got in, they said, oh, the door was open, which of course made her worry even more because it's her job to make sure that it's closed. And then they said, we're just kidding. We have keys. And in a clear defense mechanism and self-preservation mode, Molly cracked a joke. Those are some big fucking guns. As a quick side story, I once told a joke to a cab driver who kept turning around and pointing at me and telling me how I used to leave people for dead, and I was pretty sure that if I made him laugh, I'd be able to get out a couple blocks from my destination safely. I was right. This is a common practice. Put a pin in that, you're gonna need it later. Clearly shaken, Molly gets herself home. She asks the school about this training exercise by the police because, boy, that's something she should be warned about and make sure that it's not going to happen again so that she doesn't round the corner and get another gun in her face. The school, who has been incredibly supportive, by the way, had no knowledge of any training that was going on. Called the police department. Nope, no authorized training here. The school even goes so far to say that they are not allowed on school grounds unless they are called. This comforts Molly somewhat, and she gathers up her strength and goes back to work. And that night, a police cruiser comes into the parking lot. She is now beside herself with fear. She runs into the school and hides, convinced absolutely that this cop is going to murder her. Keep in mind, she has been followed home by the police in this town before. On foot, like she walks home from work. What she did not know is that her coworker went out to the parking lot to address the mystery police officer who had a canine unit and wasn't answering any of her coworker's questions. What are you doing here? What's going on? Something I should know about? No answer. And then finally, he just looks up and says, oh, I'm just here to train my dog. Is training the best excuse that any officer has for, you know what, never mind. And they leave. Molly manages to get a ride home from her wife and is obviously shaken. She takes a little time off work. Very, very supportive workplace. Hey, go ahead and take your days. And that means that she files for workman's comp. It's a small amount of money, right? Again, she's a janitor. So with the 10 days that she took, it's about $3,000. Now, the attorneys on the workman's comp side, who, by the way, previously sent her someone else's medical records by mistake, said that her claim would be denied because, and I'm quoting from the report here, she looked jovial.
What?
Remember that self-defense mechanism we were talking about? Jovial. Plus, they pointed out that no attorney is going to go up against the cops for $3,000. And they added, it's the police. So even if you win, you lose. But you're going to lose. I had a family member who had an extraordinarily, let's call it unfortunate run-in with the police. Right to their face. And the first question that everyone asked is, well, what did they do to deserve having their face broken by a cop? I said, they could be doing donuts drunk in a parking lot running over orphans. It does not give the police the right to abuse its citizens. And in this case, Molly wasn't even under arrest or detainment or anything. She was literally cleaning an elementary school. And for that, a cop, by the way, the cop with the canine unit turned out to be not a police officer in this district. He was from the next town over, but he used to work here. So obviously someone called their buddy to drive in with the canine unit to intimidate the fuck out of the person who snitched on their little gun-happy training exercise. We are witnessing a coup and a rise of fascism. We have been witnessing an increase in the militarization of police and their inflated budget, which have shown time and again, study after study, to not reduce crime one whit. Of course, what does is third spaces, investing in safe places and cheaper food and housing and healthcare. But no, we'll just keep giving these police larger guns in larger quantity. So of course they have a sense of entitlement. They do this shit with impunity all the time. Now, of course, I want to fundraise for Molly, and if you want to go ahead and Venmo me and put Molly in the memo there, I will happily give that to her. But also, I want to make sure that this story is spread far and wide. Because while this is a weird, isolated incident now, I can't imagine it's going to be in the future. Because what in the actual fuck were they training for inside of an elementary school with weapons? We've seen the Cop City protests. We know that they are trying to build urban landscapes to train in. Against whom? There is no officer friendly. Just Captain ACAB and his buddies. I mean, listen, we're all shocked that the organization that started out as slave catchers wound up to be corrupt and militarized. Just stuff. But that doesn't make it okay. What we accept as normal is how we will be treated.